What is up, Kaiju Seekers? Welcome to another video. Today we're going to be reviewing Godzilla vs. Spacegodzilla. This is the second to last film in the Heisei series, and it came out in 1994. And it was originally intended to be the last film in the series until, as some people may know, the production of the American Godzilla was still in development hell, and I believe it was probably once again delayed before they were probably wrapping up. I believe Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla 2, which came before it. And for me, growing up, this was a film that I had some fond memories of. Mostly being the scenes involving the monsters. That's why I remember the most. And rewatching it now, I can kind of understand why. Recently, I have been attempting to do a full rewatch of this film because I've been trying to get a firmer grasp on what I feel are my thoughts on the Heisei movies, but was never able to complete this one, and that is due to the utter boredom I felt watching it. I could never get past the first act, which is why I would say is the main part of the film that has the most flaws. Most due in part to being introduced. We are introduced to an interesting sci-fi concept, but aren't given any characters that are interesting to watch, go through the story and watch it progress. Most of the time, we follow characters who have interesting motivations but are never really giving into any hints or moments that explore them. We mostly follow them either trekking through the island once they arrive or just making the traps. And there's some discussions here and there between the characters on whether it be controlling Godzilla with the Project T or Yuki special. And Yuki, I would say, is one of the characters who has the most potentials, and we aren't really given any depth to it until the midpoint of the film, and we're told this rather than him giving any hints or any lead up to why he hates Godzilla so much and why he's so determined to kill him. And I think the lack of character development from really all the characters, even the ones returning such as Miki, really hinders the film, as we're not given any reason to really care about what's going on. And then after the first act, there are several baffling plot points to me that lead nowhere, nowhere significant, and I think could have been cut from the movie to provide more character moments for those newly introduced characters. Because Mickey is kidnapped through the midway through the film because they decide to stay on the island and they get betrayed by one of their members, which, again, this is stuff I don't remember because I guess it was just never interesting to me, or, like I said, it leads nowhere, and it is for the sole purpose of getting her back to the mainland, and there's no real consequences of it. There's the inkling that from the plan the traitor was doing to control Godzilla and have him wreak havoc, but it's only a small bit of tension that doesn't lead anywhere, again, because it stopped really quickly. And again, it's just I feel like it's just an excuse to get them back to the mainland when Mickey wanted to stay, and the other two characters who, again, there's not much development for them there, I feel, other than the one character who I guess has a crush on Mickey, and Mickey feels the same way. And there's this little bit of tension between them, and the one character who wants to also help Yuki stop Godzilla, which I feel we're also not really given any reason as to why that is. But there's this little budding rival romance thing going on between them and their goals, which would be interesting, but there's no real reason for it. Again, why does he have a crush on Mickey other than maybe she looks cute? And maybe he's interested in why she's so obsessed with Godzilla, but again, there's no real depth to exploring that. And because we have these plot points that go nowhere, I think we could have cut those and have that be developed more. There's some beautiful scenes that are shot well and maybe interesting, but again, I think it's just so few and far between that I think there could have been way more leading up to what we get later down the film. So while the human side of the story is lacking in this film, the monster action, again, is, as fun as engaging as I remember it as a kid. Whenever the monsters are on screen, they really do steal the show. Spacegodzilla is an interesting character and really an interesting villain with cool powers and an awesome design. Godzilla living with little Godzilla on the island is very trying to see and tragic as we see Spacegodzilla trap him on the island. And you can see Godzilla trying to desperately protect him as they're under fire. And it shows the caring side to Godzilla that I think is developed from the previous film. And there could have been some more exploring to it, but what we get, I would say, is pretty good and told well through visual storytelling. And once we get to the battle in the city, it is really a grand spectacle with amazing display of powers that are shot well and interesting with a few dynamic camera angles that are very just nice to see and a quick change of pace from some of the other Heisei films because, well, it's a nice comeback because there used to be a lot more dynamic shots in some of the earlier films, and I know that sometimes there are a few shots here and there, but it was kind of lacking for some of this film and a few others. But here it is very nicely done, and it's sad to see that the human side of the story is really lacking since it would have been like icing on the cake to what is a pretty great monster story, but it only detracts from the film. It leaves me bored, as I've said, and I would honestly only recommend watching most of the monster scenes and the scenes with the human characters where they're involved with the monsters fighting with Mogera and things like that are done well and I think are a cool part of the story. But again, there's no real reason to care for them other than like basic, human level empathies and relatability. Because again, Yuki has a lot of potential. I think Miki Sagusa's position on how she feels about Godzilla is really interesting to watch. But again, there's no real reason to care that deeply about it. And it detracts from the film overall. But I would say overall, those are my main thoughts on the film. Again, the fond memories I had do remain with the film with all the monster stuff, but the human stuff is just not as engaging as I would want it to be, or as it even was with the previous film. Well, there you have it, guys. Those are my thoughts on Godzilla vs. Spacegodzilla from the Heisei film series. If you have any further thoughts about my review here, let me know down below in the comments, and I will discuss with you. Without further ado, thank you everyone for coming to watch this video. Until next time, Kaiju Seekers, over and out.